call this meeting to order. If you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you join me in a moment of silence, please? Thank you for being at tonight's meeting. The first item on our agenda tonight relates to citizen concerns. Are there any concerned citizens who would like to approach the board at this time? Seeing none, we will move to item 3, approval of the agenda dated November 29, 2016.
Move it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is approval of the minutes of the November 22nd, 2016 meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the minutes are carried 5-0. Item 5 is discussion and approval of claims.
Move it.
I'll second. Is there discussion on the claims? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the claims are approved 5-0. Item 6, Human Resources Director Ed Gilliland, and item 6A is the approval of the memorandum of personnel transaction.
Move it.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Item 6B is to authorize the chairman to sign an authorization to initiate the hiring process.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the authorization carries 5-0. Thank you, Ed. Item 7, Board Administration, Heather Satterwhite. This is approval of a notice of property sale resolution for parcels number 058, 860, and 058, 875.
Move to set the public hearing December 13th at 4:35.
I need to address the board on that.
Yes, Heather.
We did have interest in this property, but as of yesterday, we don't. I've tried to offer it to other property holders right around there, but no one's interested. So at this point, I don't think we need to do it.
Thank you very much. So for lack of a second,
Yeah, or it dies, I guess.
that motion dies. Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather. Let us know if anything changes along those lines. Item 8 is our county auditor, Pat Gill, and this is to receive the auditor's quarterly report.
Move it. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion, or would you like to make any remarks, Mr. Auditor? There's a motion and a second to receive. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. We are going to bypass items under number 9 for the present time, and instead move to item 10, which is WCICC IT Director John Malloy, and that's a motion to approve funding for the county migration of Office 365. Good evening, John. How are you?
Good evening, Chairman. John Malloy, IT. This past summer, we did some show and tell sessions with Office 365 to a number of our internal constituents within the city and the county, and looking at the feasibility of moving two things, moving our email platform to Microsoft Exchange and moving our Microsoft Office Professional to Office 365. And worked with Dennis here to see if there was any funding we could identify. There were two fund sources within the county that we thought we could utilize to fund the county portion of that project.
So you've identified funds amounting to $33,073 from the PC replacement fund, and so simply are needing a motion to approve the reallocation of that CIP?
Is that the amount? Is that the county's?
That'd be the county's portion, yes.
Move it.
I'll second. What will be the, just for the good of the public, the benefit all told of moving to 365? I know the school district and many other entities have done so, but if
Right.
you,
Right. I think there's a number of benefits. One, it'll slow down our disk usage internally as far as disk storage. There'll be cloud storage that we'll be able to take advantage of, and being able to get access to your data from a number of places. So if you're here, you're next door, you're across the street, or you're at another public facility, you can get to your data, or at home. So I think that's a huge benefit right there.
and as far as the timeline on when migration will take place, and
We're shooting for the first half of 2017, assuming if the funding all comes through as anticipated. So there's 3 entities I'm working with, the county being 1, the city being 2, and SDH being 3.
the city has committed.
City has committed, the finance department has committed so far, so I need to take that next step. So again, I'm trying to build the funding before I go into the planning stages. So again, sort of a tap dance I do all the time. So and again, nothing will be moved forward on until the entities all agree, or I can do it in piecemeal fashion.
Very good. Any other questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor for this previously budgeted for item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. And the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, John. Well, we will move to item 11A, which is an update from Lawton. I wanted to check in with the rest of you. As you know, we have been in every rural community during the last 2 years, except for Lawton, which has gone through some change. And I talked to their mayor, and we are wondering if December 12th, which is a Monday evening, may be an opportunity for us from 7 to 8 p.m. And he told me that he would speak to his council, and I said that I would speak to our board if we could round out the year with that. So
Works for me.
okay, great. Well, I'll get back to him and let him know. And also tentatively, once I have confirmation, I'll let department heads and elected officials know, and continue to be appreciative of their attendance there. The other thing that I placed in front of you, Kevin Green from Siouxland District Health, who's always a forward-thinking department head, had let me know about something called Live Stories. And this is a platform using data that many public health entities and counties and cities have used when they either take a budget or trying to educate the public on, could be disease prevention or mitigation or some sort of immunization push. And they have a pretty unique way of taking 100% cloud-based data and using it in a very visually appealing and informative, interactive video sort of way. So I went on a conference call. Just so you know, Kevin says it's not something that Siouxland District Health would want to take on itself, but may be willing to be one of several entities if different departments like economic development, secondary roads, emergency management, and others participated. So I just took some notes from the presentation. I wrote down some of the costs and wanted to place in your hands some of the demonstrations that you can go and you can type in. You can see what it looks like and see if there's interest on your parts going forward in the future. Something. What I anticipate that maybe that this would be is last year we did the County Government Day, which I think was a success. This may be a different other platform. DeKalb County, Georgia uses this in order to educate the public on services and accessibility. And so wanted to simply tonight to put some of the links out there for you to check out. And if you have further interest, I can imagine a working group with maybe a David Gleiser, a John Malloy, Kevin Green, Supervisor Ong. I thought you're kind of a techie person, potentially sitting on. So Any questions on that? Seeing none, we have now come to a set time of 4:40, and this will be under our Building Services Director, Kenny Schmitz. Item A is a public hearing of Woodbury County Courthouse 2016 steam trap service and replacement project. Kenny, would you give some introductory remarks that you feel may be necessary? And then we'll open it up to the public if they would like to make comment.
Absolutely, sure. This is just a hearing, set date and time required by Iowa code for our bidding processes for the steam trap project. It's just one of the steps we take in fulfilling our requirements in that process.
And the steam trap project is designed to do what?
That is designed to repair or replace all of the steam traps in the courthouse. That project will go out for bid. This is a step and a legality in that process to seek those bids.
Thank you very much. Any questions or discussions before we hold this public hearing?
Now is probably a good time to do this.
Now
It's
is a very
cold
good
and
time to
working.
do this. Yes.
Hearing none, we will now hold a public hearing. We are in a public hearing, therefore. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this project or to seek any input of interested parties?
Anyone against fixing something?
Oh, well worded.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion to close the public hearing and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the public hearing is closed on a vote of 5-0. Item 9B is a motion to approve the Siouxland District Health Boiler Heating System engineering drawings and specifications and seek competitive bids for boiler replacement and circulating system improvements. Kenny?
So the item before you is for improvements, boiler replacements and upgrades to the heating system at Siouxland District Health. Currently, in that system, they have one failed and unoperational boiler, so they're kind of limping along on 2 boilers currently. Past history tells us that previously one of those boilers had some heat exchanger damage and had been replaced. We now have one other second failed unit. We believe that that's in part due to the system design, and therefore we're recommending some changes that will improve upon that system, whereby the boilers will not cycle on and off repeatedly. That's contributing to that damage that we believe. There will be some additional pumps installed that will improve the circulation and control of that system. And the approval we're asking for today would to seek competitive bids for that replacement and upgrade process.
Move it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Do you know within this, is this any opportunity for Clear Results or Nexen or any group to look at rebate potentials, or is that not something that is applicable?
Shane, you got some comments you'd like to make on Clear Result?
Shane Albrecht, the Baker Group. Clear Result is in the process of coming down, and we've got schedules. They're actually going to do energy assessments at basically all the county sheds. Remember, probably a couple months ago, we came before you and talked about some bonus incentive dollars, which kind of free money out there and stuff. They're going to help us go to all these different buildings, identify the projects that are out there that they'll rebate, give us a bucket list as per se of the amount of different projects we could possibly do and the rebates associated with them, so that I can come back before you guys and say, here's what we've got at each of these different buildings. Here's the projects we can do, project cost, rebates that we can get, and also be able to then include the bonus incentives that we would then be qualified for. The other good thing about these bonus incentives that we found out, by doing these assessments, unlike any of the other rebates, the bonus incentives sit there in a bank for you. If you do a project, not even next year, 2 years from now, small buildings, because we'll get this logged in and get them recorded, you can trigger 2 years from now doing a project and it'll kick in the bonus incentive from the projects that the lighting project, the LED lighting project is what has the bonus incentive sitting there. So by taking this step and working with Kenny on this, we're going to have it set up so that any projects you do, whether it's a new refrigerator, a new water heater, new boilers, you're going to be able to get in to kicking into the bonus incentives on the project.
But on this particular project, is there?
There is a rebate available.
Okay.
They will rebate it based upon the BTUs. They're going to be looking at that project, so sorry, that's a very true.
But it can have retroactive applicability to this, even if we, okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And all of these things will be completed for walkthroughs of all these spaces. There's about 14 of them. They will complete it by Christmas.
It
Wow.
turned into kind of a complicated process.
It turned into a very complicated process when we tried to work on getting the bonus incentives and talk to them about Siouxland District Health's rebates as well as steam traps at Trosperhoit, which you're about to get to, rebates, okay?
Really? Steam traps rebate too?
Yes, sir.
Well, they ought to, I guess.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. We now are to item C under number 9, which is a motion to approve the Trosper Hoyt Steam Trap Engineering and Design Services. Kenny?
So Resource Consulting Engineers was asked to put together a quote for us for design engineering services for the steam traps at the Trosper Hoyt building, similar to what they've done for us here at the courthouse. We're under the impression that we probably have the same or similar situation at Trosper Hoyt as we had here at the courthouse. We have some steam traps in unknown locations, and this will help us identify what all those locations are and provide recommended repair or replacements in conjunction with that.
I would move this.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Now, are they going to go through each trap?
I'm assuming that, yes, we would probably move forward at a later date on repairing or replacing each trap.
And as I read this, it seemed to me that they were just going to locate these traps.
That is what this design or what Resource Consulting Engineers does. They're going to identify those, lay them all out on drawings, spell out all the locations, show us where they're at on a floor plan, and put all that paperwork together, which we would then have to take to a bid process similar to what we're doing with the courthouse.
That easily could go back to the concept of flaws in the design.
They could identify some things
Yeah.
like that. We did run into a thing or two here at the courthouse similar to that. That's an unknown.
To answer your question, Supervisor Clausen, we've got this slated so that when I've got the instruments and the gauges up here to test the steam traps for the courthouse, Trosper Hoyt is different a little bit than the courthouse. Once we locate them, we will actually test them because Building Services has replaced 6 or 7 of them in the last 2 to 3 years. So we will test them and be able to tell you there's 70% that are failed or what. A little different method because there has been some of them replaced and it's a smaller quantity.
But then you're going to do the testing on those.
That's correct.
It's not Resource.
No, sir. They're just going to locate them and put them on the drawings and put model numbers on them just like they did for the courthouse. That will be, that's what that's.
And identify the problem issues as well.
That is correct.
Okay.
And any flaws in design.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Thank you both very much, and please keep us abreast of any developments as far as rebates or things that are found out on both of the projects.
Certainly.
Thank you. Item 12 is reports on committee meetings. I had a meeting with Dennis Butler and Kevin Green, and we're working through the budget with Siouxland District Health, and spent, an hour, Dennis, looking at the tax askings and the potential next year. There is an increase, just so you know, there was a budget amendment that Siouxland District Health approved of about $75,925. That was for their nursing division, and that was unanimously approved. That was for homemaker health, if I have that term correct, that services about 61 individuals in their home that the District Health Board believed was necessary. One of the keys is that there had been grant funding in the past for that, but by doing this, there is a shift to tax-supported allocation, which hasn't normally been the practice of Siouxland District Health. That will have a budget impact not only on FY17, but also on FY18. So that's one thing I wanted to inform you of. The second thing is we are looking at the fact that last year the board took the last 3 years where we had the overage of what was over and above 25% and looked to whittle that down so that we tried to be at the 25% instead of over. And we're looking at what are the effects on the amount of money that's going to be asked of taxpayers. And without convoluting it more than that, that's about a 2 or 3 minute summation, unless Dennis Butler would like to add anything.
Not this time.
Okay. So any questions or discussion? I just want to let you know that that conversation was being
So
had.
Is there potential that services will be cut then?
No, not based on the fact that there was the budget amendment. So
But going forward?
I don't believe so unless there was something there where they couldn't meet their budget. The $75,925 would go to from their reserves. And it'll just be looking forward. Without getting too into the weeds, the discussion is that $216,000, do we refund, not refund, but fund that back? Do we fund that back $216,000 more next year? Or do we say that reducing that allocation has come closer to that 25% level? So those are the two discussions. We're just trying to run the numbers to see what it will look like.
Now, you're on that board,
Yeah.
and so you ought to be very familiar with all the numbers. So is it going to change, or is it going to stay like it is?
Wait and see would be my... And the reason, one of the challenges with this is we don't have the FY17 post-audited actuals to know what the effect is. What we do know at this time is that the post-audited actuals of FY16, if we were to ask for anything above the 22% level, we would ask $118,000 back. Okay? So that's one thing that we do know. Going forward, if we're trying to hit a 25% target, that's where we're trying to run the numbers on an accrual basis and see what that will be. So we spent an hour and are all three familiar with the numbers, but it's just going to take some more digging and putting it into a digestible form, if that helps.
Okay.
Any other reports on committee meetings?
Sioux Rivers had a visiting meeting last Wednesday. About 25 folks showed up, I'd say. Excellent meeting. I can't remember what they were because Shane's going to put them together, but I think there were about 5 initiatives that the group came up with, covering the 3 counties cooperatively. also doing some cooperative stuff with other agencies, and getting involved in a number of projects, especially in Woodbury County. So that will be coming out one of these days.
Very good.
Is that to reduce the reserves?
What?
Is that to reduce the reserves?
Is that what?
No, that's not the goal. The goal is just they haven't had visioning meetings, and they need to have one every year.
Visioning is on what should we be doing.
Right, but you said that there was a number that were being looked at. So I'm wondering, is
No.
that going to be reserve
There's
funded?
no discussion of reserves at this meeting. It was what we should be doing with no numbers.
Okay.
All right, anything else on committee meetings? Hearing none, we will move to citizen concerns. Any concerned citizens? And item 14, board concerns and comments.
And
Yes.
one question I want to follow up on, because I forgot at that historical, or the building meeting, we talked a little bit about, and I neglected to include it in the minutes, but you had some mention that Ed might be looking for something, a storm-related event or something. To bring it back, several years ago, I remember on election night that there was a storm here and water come cascading down through the terracotta and that sort of thing. Were you aware of that, Ed? What would be the impact? Why would you want to know that?
Would it be from an insurance perspective? Did you hear the question?
Not entirely, no. So if I could.
We were at the committee meeting, and I brought up that on election night, one night, water came, it was raining, had a storm. Water came through and damaged the inside of the rotunda. And at this meeting, they said that you were looking for some sort of event like that would happen. Wouldn't that have an impact on funding or anything? Is that what?
And they would, yeah, I do remember now. You caught me off guard a little bit on that, I apologize. But the purpose of looking into that would be that we do have property damage insurance. Would that be a claim that we could make in a case like that?
Usually not stormwater, though, right?
It depends on the situation, but yeah, most cases no, but there are cases where it can be, and it depends on the amount of damage. I think what we determined in that case was that there wasn't enough damage for it to meet the deductible. I believe my deductible is $25,000 on that.
Okay.
So,
I was just curious. I didn't follow up on it. I just want to make sure that somebody did.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, item 14, board and concerns and comments. A reminder, December 20th, looks like it'll be the food for the Christmas event, and most likely take place from 11 to 2. Realize later that day, Supervisor Clausen, you may be having an event in your honor. So,
I believe so.
so communication, Karen will take care of, and that goes for anyone who would like to do anything. Karen will be glad to assist and help. And so with that, is there anything else that needs to come before this board for the good of the cause? Hearing none, and within a half hour's time, I move we
Not too bad.
adjourn.
It's only taken you a year to,
Well, I'm a slow learner.
I know.
Mr. Clausen.